thousands of workers turn to the North Carolina Department of Labor each year to collect the wages their bosses had promised. The lucky, less than half during the past fiscal year, find an investigator who can convince a company owner to settle up. The unlucky, those caught laboring for an unscrupulous or cash-strapped company, find no help. The agency very rarely pushes these matters to court, allowing companies willing to cheat workers out of pay to escape unscathed. In the past 5 years, the North Carolina Department of Labor has filed lawsuits against only 4 companies to recoup wages owed to workers. In the past fiscal year, the only workers who filed complaints that the agency helped recover missing paychecks got results because their bosses voluntarily agreed to settle up. For at least 2,011 workers, more than half of the 3,694 who asked for help in the past fiscal year, the agency took no action. Employers didn't get fined. No one was charged with a crime for not compensating the workers' time and labor. The North Carolina Department of Labor, run by Republican Cherie Berry, has significant duty to the state's 4 million workers. The agency is charged with ensuring that they toil in safe environments and holding employers who fall short to account. The department inspects elevators and boiler systems. A team of 17 investigators is in charge of making sure employees in North Carolina are paid what they are due. In September, the news. Workers treated as contractors often work without proper insurance if they are injured or laid off. Those who pay taxes, because they are considered self-employed, bear a higher burden. Some of the workers reported being cheated out of pay. Treating workers who should be employees as independent contractors, a practice called misclassification, costs the state $467 million a year in lost tax revenue, the newspapers estimate. Berry, who was first elected in 2000, has declined this year to speak with reporters about these labor schemes. Berry's spokeswoman has said that the newspaper found several areas where Berry's office has not been forceful with cheating employers. Of the tens of thousands of workers' complaints Berry's office reports that it has reviewed since her election in 2000, attorneys for the agency have filed lawsuits on behalf of workers 36 times, according to information provided by the Attorney General's office, which represents the department in litigation. Berry's agency routinely directs workers cheated out of wages to hire their own lawyers and go to court to get their money, according to information provided by Berry's office and interviews with plaintiffs' attorneys. If a company has shuttered or filed for bankruptcy, Berry's investigators routinely close the case without substantiating the wage claim as valid, according to information provided by Berry's agency. Berry's office has jurisdiction over roughly 168,000 companies in the state but does not conduct random checks on wage and hour practices, including those often triggered by companies misclassifying workers. Critics said by not doing more, Berry is failing workers in the state. "There's no going beyond what's the letter of the law in using the bully pulpit," said Mary Van Donen, a Democrat and former Labor Department employee who unsuccessfully challenged Berry for Labor Commissioner in 2008. These issues of equity and fairness, they are not in her wheelhouse. An agency spokeswoman defended the agency's record on wage complaints, saying that investigators' time is best spent going after money they have a chance of collecting. For the employers who agreed to pay, workers recovered an average of 73 cents for each dollar owed. Civil lawsuits to recover wages for employees take a lot of time, and it can be difficult to collect, lawyers agree. Of the agency's 4 lawsuits in recent years, one has yielded money for the workers, the others are not yet resolved. Spending money on court costs and attorney fees often results in the courts issuing a judgment that may never be paid, the agency's spokeswoman, Dolores Quisenberry, wrote in an email. The money recovered through our efforts is put back in the complainant's pockets and thus back into the state's economy via customer spending. On their own, Gaspar Zuniga, Juan Paredes and nearly 20 coworkers were among the roughly 2,000 workers the State Department of Labor turned away last year after they asked for help recovering wages their employers never delivered. The owners of Tri-City Contractors, a concrete company in Raleigh, owed each of the men about $2,000, enough money to put the men in peril of not affording rent and groceries. "We live paycheck to paycheck," said Paredes, who was owed more than $2,000. At first, Zuniga, 40, and Paredes, 39, hoped their boss of more than 2 decades would settle up on his own. As the bills piled up and Christmas approached, they lost hope. The men, immigrants who came here illegally from Mexico, found a telephone number for the State Department of Labor. Soon, 18 employees for the company had lodged a complaint, the agency said. Labor investigator Don Beasley confirmed 18 laborers for Tri-City Contractors of Raleigh were cheated out of several weeks of wages. but the company owner, Curtis J. Fields, declined to voluntarily pay what he owed, and a lawyer for the company